Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Jarod, Hector? That you're Jarod? This is True Hoop? Where am I?
It's
What's
been
going
a
on?
while. It's been a while. It's been a while. David was in Vegas doing some important basketball stuff and a much needed vacation. So I know how Vegas was. So we talked about that. How was vacation?
Yeah. Oh, listen. I'm the strangest dude when it comes to stuff like that. Seems to be really happy with how the trip went, which means, daddy's happy. Daughter is pissed. She's like, you guys go to Napa, you go to Cabo. I'm fucking, what am I, chopped liver? I'm like, you can't do a job. You can't get away. This is my vacation. Yeah. So it was good, but I'm recharged and refreshed. And I mean, I watched a lot of basketball on Synergy while I was gone. Not a lot. I watched some basketball while I was gone. I got plenty of it in Vegas. And I've been watching, the Olympics some, so I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Rachel's like, what about me?
Yeah.
You're like, well, you have a job. Like, oh, work.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you're supposed to be doing?
It's not my fault you have a job.
Such is life, right? Yes, we enjoyed some time away. It was good to recharge, refresh. And now we're back, David. The Olympics have started, which we'll get to shortly. But something that Henry and I talked about the week before last, he had a great article out on truehoop.com, which you should all be subscribed to, called NBA Basketball Hurts. And it really just ties into a lot of the stuff we talk about. As you guys all know, Henry is in the end stage process. It's all like late editing now of a book that's going to come out next year about the body, right? And these things that we ask it to do. And I use we, the royal we, in a very loose sense.
Yeah.
Not us, but we are not professional athletes, but the things that professional athletes ask their bodies to do is a lot. And it puts it under a lot of stress and pressure. And your body really wasn't designed to do all these things. And playing sports at a high level, basketball, whatever it may be, you're stressing those things. And everything in your body, you only got one of, right? Like it's the stuff you're born with, and it is what it is. And when it breaks, tears, rips, or whatever, coming back from that is tough. And in Henry's piece, he talked a lot about, some of the older players on Team USA. And, and I think one of the examples he used was, if Kevin Durant has a choice to run out and close to a 3-point shooter, right? Does he do that? And again, tax a body that already has extended mileage on it as we speak. And David, where we are right now with sports, it just seems like we're continuing, the people that run sports, the billionaires that run it, continue to move and operate under this mindset of, well, what does it matter? We got to keep making more money, so we're just going to keep playing. Whatever happens. If they break, so what? We'll just get the next man up, next woman up, and we'll just fill the slot. And it's a shame, because as someone does what you do, and obviously what I do, we care about these athletes and their bodies. And I think we're heading towards a real, true, and I don't mean this to be funny, a breaking point, a literal breaking point.
Well, I'll deal with the second part of your question there in a second. As an example of real world stuff, I have a player that I'm kind of overseeing his development this summer. I have two assistants there working with him on a daily basis because I can't be there every day. It's not in my hometown. And I know that as part of his summer schedule, he was going to spend some time overseas on kind of a working vacation. And we had built out a plan accounting for 9 or 10 days absence when he's away, which I assumed he would be not working out. And then I just learned yesterday from his agent that he was able to get a former assistant of mine to fly over there with him or meet him there and work him out, 4 or 5, 6 days of those 9. So that changes things because I don't want to run out of gas. And so if he's not taking the break, I thought he was taking a break. As I explained to my assistant working him out now, let's take it back a notch now. We don't have to increase our intensity 2 or 3 days this week because he's not going to miss any time when he's gone. And so these are things that have to be factored in all the time, in my opinion, so that as I said to the agent, I haven't talked to the player yet about it. I just left him a voice message. We're trying to have you play your best in May and June. And so you have to have that kind of holistic approach to it. I sat on a jury duty once where it was really a terrible situation. the the plaintiff represented himself, which tells you something. He couldn't find an attorney that would take his case. And he was trying to argue that a traffic accident he was in years ago was causing some of the back issues he had currently. It didn't matter that the accident was a decade prior. And it didn't matter that he had a number of manual labor jobs, any one of which could have caused the problems he was currently experiencing, including one where he was driving a cab, and by his own admission, sometimes he drove 24 straight hours. And so they had a chiropractor on, and I happened to be a neighbor of mine growing up. And of course, that could cause some real problems driving a cab 24 straight hours. And I'm sure it affected his pain level, but I doubt it affected his ability to drive. We're in a different animal here. It does affect. So in Henry's point about Kevin Durant, it's not whether or not he'll do it. Is at what level of urgency is he going to apply to the closeout, which is somewhat, I think, dictated by time and score context. How important that play is in the realities of chasing the gold medal. And then also his own body and mindfulness of what he wants to do this year, because there's risk involved. And so I think what we're talking about is we want to be in a situation where the risks are minimized as much as possible, as often as possible. If they're professional athletes, we're going to have some risk no matter what. Henry wrote about the charge, taking a charge in practice or a game, whatever. Someone took a charge on LeBron yesterday.
Saw that in Serbia. Yep, in Serbia.
Serbia, that's impressive. There's lots of plays that cause us pain. To me, I think the most important talking point is something we've talked about here before, is getting the owners to care about the bodies of their players. I think it's fair to guess that they care more about their stars, because that's probably better on their bottom line. I'd like to see them care about everybody all the time, because as Henry once said to me a long time ago, and I'm sure he said to us too, the league would do better if their stars played more games on national TV. And they tend to miss some of those games because they're trying to make sure they're okay for the playoffs. And so ideally, we have lesser opportunities for them to have risks, so that they're there for the most important moments when it matters most. And I don't think we're anywhere close to that. I do think some teams are caring more about their bodies because of who they're hiring. I don't think that's as common as it needs to be, nor do I think teams spend a lot of time thinking about these kinds of things, and they should. But we got to keep the fight that we're fighting, and hope that more and more people who are mindful of these issues start getting better and better positions in the league. And then we'll start seeing meaningful change, I think.
Yeah. I mean, look, the reality is, as much as we here at True Hoop champion and want and agree that we need a shortened season, that's never going to happen, right? Where we are.
I won't say never.
Well, maybe not never.
Not the current construct.
Right. Not the way we're set up right now. And so if that is the case, to David's point, which teams are being smart about, well, look, this is the schedule we have. We can't do anything about it in the short term. How do I have you best prepared so that you are healthy, right? I mean, there are players who play full seasons and manage to do okay, right? Mikal Bridges is one that comes to mind now of the New York Knicks. We'll see how that goes.
Of course, there's exceptions.
Of course.
It's not a strategy, though, yeah.
There isn't, but I do remember Henry talking about the folks at P3 really liking the way Mikal, his lifting regimen that prepares him for the season. So these are different things that, again, if we're not going to cut the 82-game schedule, and this is what we have, okay, how do I have you, and it's going to be individual for every person, right?
Right.
How is each player best prepared so that, to David's point, if you're a playoff team, whatever, you are playing your best basketball and you're healthy late in the season? How do we design a program around that?
I think Henry has said that guys like Dr. Elliott at P3 think the problem isn't the schedule as much as the inability to train properly.
Correct.
Because of the schedule.
Yep.
And quite frankly, also the ignorance of teams and players as to what they should be doing. I'm telling you, as someone who talks a lot to agents and spends a lot of time with them, they're starting to get more and more acclimated. A lot of these agents are former players, not a lot, some, but they're dealing with lots of players, including guys they used to represent who are retired. And so they're hearing this kind of feedback that, hey, you've got to change up your regiment. Players are more frequently hiring their personal chefs. It's now gotten to the point where at least one of the players I spoke to this summer hired his own personal chef for when he's home. So he's got one on he doesn't have a girlfriend or wife or a partner or a roommate that does it for him. So he's got a chef that takes care of things when he's home. And then he's got a chef in his hometown of where he plays, where the franchise is. That's a step in the right direction. Yep. All of this is interrelated. The Pilates, yoga, there's guys that have their own PT or physio that consults with them a lot. In fact, one of the players I was talking about going overseas trip, he's bringing a PT with him. Very smart, super smart. Well, he can afford it.
Most of the guys, the top guys, do that, right? They have their, and I encourage them to do that. I wouldn't trust the team's medical staff and training staff as your go-to if
not necessarily unless they earned it,
right?
Just like anything else, you have to earn it. And I'm privy to lots of WhatsApp threads where I'm one of 7 people on. That's just kind of keeping everyone informed of what's going on with the player each day. I do my role, which is on-court stuff, and I coordinate everything on that end. So in other words, if Thursdays and Fridays are going to be high-intensity days, then I need to make sure the strength coach and the physio, the masseuse, they all know what days those are, the therapist, all that kind of stuff. So that's a step in the right direction. Some of the teams are starting to buy into this more. Plenty of the teams are not. And but we can work towards that solution, and that helps. Boy, wouldn't it be great? We go to 32 teams, play 62 games. Hell, I'm even open to the idea of playing 62 guaranteed games, which is every team home and away, and then 10 more based on where you stood in the standings, like football kind of does.
Yeah.
Just for matchups, in a sense. Hell, that's 9 less games. Let's work towards, and then we can move from 71 to 62, whatever.
Right.
I'm not saying anything's impossible. We have to follow the science, right? We have to follow, and if it's working out and players are playing better late, and we can track that with the computer we have, there's a better chance there's going to be some changes.
We have all the data and abilities to track this stuff. I mean, you guys, we've talked a million times about all the thousands, hundreds of cameras all around. We can do all the things we need to do. Again, but it for the billionaires, right? It's about the money for them. So can we do it a way where you show, hey, look, here's how we make even more money doing it this way, right?
Yeah, right.
If that changes, they will 100% do whatever's going to make them more money.
Oh, if you could show them a model that said, if you play 31 games, we're going to make more money. Oh, they'd be all in on that.
100%.
It's really, they're not sadists that way. They just are indifferent to their athletes' bodies.
Correct.
But they don't want to necessarily be cruel. They just want to make more money.
Correct. And in that example you used about the jury case you were on, something that's interesting to point out and note, while the chiropractor said that it could have been driving the cab for 24 hours, but the prior accident could have also been a contributing factor, right? The point is, anything that happens to your body, it's not all right, I sprained my ankle one time and then it doesn't matter anymore. Like, no, like people who sprain their ankles once generally are more susceptible to sprain it again, right? That's generally how these things tend to work. So everything tends to be cumulative. And when you play basketball and it's miles and, I tore my ACL. Well, then, it's a shock that like all of a sudden you have all these lower extremity injuries now, right? It's not surprising. Everything takes a little bit out of you and a little bit more and a little bit more. And so again, when we have these insane schedules like we do, an 82-game season, playoffs, and a summer tournament like the Olympics, this is a lot of basketball for these dudes.
Well, and we can't, I know we've said this before, but it bears repeating. When you used to have to play against Wes Unseld and Kareem and Wilt and Bill Russell, you just ran to the rim. And then you jogged to the other rim. Sometimes you ran. Lots of rim, block.
Right.
Jokic is the point guard for the Denver Nuggets.
Correct.
So does Bam Adebayo for Miami a lot. Right. Embiid plays from the perimeter also. You have to guard. And then there's impossible to guard guys off ball screens with ball handlers, which requires then more help coming, which then puts everyone in rotations. So now our big guys have to go out and guard the perimeter.
Correct.
And so the ask of them is so much more than ever before. The ground they're covering is so much greater. The sudden starts and sudden stops and the change of directions that these men have to do all the time is just unlike anything the game was like 30, 40, 50 years ago. And that's starting when they're young.
Mm-hmm.
I have clients who, now that I'm doing high school guys virtually with our new business, I have to watch AAU sometimes. I have someone else that does it more, but I do watch. And so we see that more and more often now. I mean, LeBron yesterday got kind of like a steal top of the key and just beat everyone down the court for, I think he laid it up as a 6'9" big man. It's not something Malone did a lot. Mailman as one of the best power forwards ever. LeBron's done that a lot more when he was younger. The game is just faster, bigger, stronger, quicker, more skill, more ground to cover. Consequently, it's like, here's the best analogy I can give you. It's like instead of 10 times a game or 7 times a game, you've got kickoff returns, which are very dangerous in the NFL.
Right.
It's like that number is 50% now.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if the NFL was 50% kickoff returns.
I mean,
a whole lot of beaten up bodies. There's a reason why there's a reason why there's a reason why they legislated against kickoff returns. I don't really follow football, but I believe that's very few kickoff returns now, right? They did it on purpose. Well, we can't do that in basketball and not diminish the game.
Right.
So we have to just get healthier.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this is, again, something that just bears watching and repeating. And, we'll talk more about that this summer. David, you mentioned Team USA basketball. Group play opened up yesterday against Serbia. Nikola Jokic, the 3-time MVP, and Team Serbia that won silver, I want to say, in their most recent competition. Obviously, a good team. They got Bojan Bogdanovic as well. And then players, David, who, for lack of, they may not be in the NBA, but they know how to play basketball. Right, like they know how to.
They know how to they know how to play it well. These are high-level players overseas that, for whatever reason, because it's not just based on talent,
right,
are not in the NBA. They had some NBA players, and but all those guys are high-level basketball players.
Yep.
And they have Jokic,
and which of course, rising tide lifts all ships and all that. But USA, after a 10-2 start by Serbia, and we were like, "Ooh, this might be a fun game." The U.S. kind of turned things on there and really, as David said in our call this morning, played a game. He was really impressed with what he saw. I want to start here, David, with, the easy place to start is LeBron. And at 39, he will be 40 in December. So around right just after Christmas of this season, which is a whole other thing about how crazy that is. His mastery of the game, David, right? One of the favorite things you'll talk about are reference points. I mean, how many, at this point of his career, millions of reference points does he have? And he's also an experienced international player, which matters because the game is slightly different than the NBA game.
Not just slightly.
And we'll talk about Joel Embiid in a minute. And I just feel like, wow, it's not, look, we're not, nothing we haven't said before, but LeBron's ability to understand and give the game what it needs, whatever the game state may be. Oh, we're down, I got to do more of this. Oh, we're up, this is going to be fun. Whatever it is. I just thought it was on display again last night.
I mean, it was obvious. Yeah. He got the first basket of the game with that run out. He's just an extraordinary player. He leaves me mystified. I'm no LeBron fan. I appreciate his talent. He's extraordinary. Yeah. I don't really care much about the announcers who kind of get excited about things sometimes. I don't think they're so exciting, but it's undeniable to see how he moves at his age. Out-athleting the Serbians is one thing. Doing it against South Sudan, who I think is a more athletic team, is another. But, his skill level, I thought his just competitiveness was the most important. I was really... Yeah, I think Team USA can be casual and has been casual in this summer and was casual in this game to some degree, but their effort was good. I thought their passing was casual, their effort was good, and I thought he helped kind of helm that, champion that, inspired that, made a big difference, I thought.
Locked in, and you could tell like the way he was started, like he cared, right? And look, you would think on a team with all these guys who have accomplished so much, there's still a pecking order, right, David? And if LeBron is doing that, the other guy, okay, LeBron's our guy. Okay, this is what we're doing. We're all going to do the thing. And it was incredible to watch. Another player, another old guy on the team, Kevin Durant, not as old as LeBron, hasn't played a meaningful basketball game since April, whenever they got knocked out of the playoffs. And then this summer he had the calf injury, so he wasn't practicing with the team really, getting up light shots, did not play in any of the exhibition games. Some rust is probably going to happen, right? That's just how it is when you don't play basketball for a while. Well, seemingly not for Kevin Durant, who missed one shot, I believe, in the entire game. And, on a team like this where you have all these amazing stars, David, one thing I enjoyed, and Durant does this anyway in the NBA, but there was no over dribbling, or it was pass, shoot, great, in, move on to the next thing. I was like, this is some high level elite basketball right here. And Durant did not miss a beat in that game.
I mean, my defensive philosophy of you're trying to deal 16s is how I look at the game. And to Durant, everything's an 11. And the dealer's got a 6 showing. I don't know what you do. I sometimes will play blackjack online before I go to sleep at night. So I'm not reading anything, and I'm just playing some blackjack. Well, I'm doing pretty well. I'm not for money.
Right.
Yeah, I'm playing against people, but yeah, there's no money involved. But I'm hoping for an 11 against a 6. I want an 8 and a 3 or 7 and 4,
right.
6 and 5, and I want the right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's Durant all the time. You're not always going to win,
right?
But to your point, I thought Kerr's offense was what you'd expect a Kerr offense to be, which is lots of just fluid movement, reading, quick, and he's got a hell of a team. To do that. And I don't know if that's why Tatum didn't play, which we'll get to, because he's a little bit more sticky than I think some of the other guys tend to be. I don't know. We'll find out. I think he'll play a lot next game. But for one game anyway, I think if I'm Serbia's coach, I'm telling my team pregame, let's hope that they play selfishly. And that just wasn't the case.
They did not.
Our guys really, it's the equivalent of jazz music, the world's best musicians getting together to do a Live Aid song, which I was in college when that happened, and I loved it. I've not seen the documentary yet on that making of that song, but I like when super talented people put their ego aside and just said, let's make beautiful music.
Yep.
Or in this case, let's play beautiful basketball. And for one day anyway, I thought Team USA did that for 38 minutes.
They were jazzed for sure. And in those minutes, Durant a team high plus 20 in that game. It was exciting. You talked about the Kerr offense. One of the things that is a hallmark of the Kerr offense with Golden State, as we on for this last decade plus, however long it's been, is the Steph Curry gravity and his off-ball movement. And quite a few times in the game, on that give up the ball, read, react, cut, move, you could see it, right? Where Curry's gets off the ball, runs out, and screen's coming, and literally everybody in Serbia panics, and two guys rush at him. And I'm like, well, you know what that means now. Two guys are going way out to the three-point line. Somebody's wide the hell open at the rim, and bam for a dunk, AD for a dunk. I'm like, this, when there's that constant threat, and he's one threat, right? So if he's cutting off and doing that, and you have, well, I'm not going to leave Kevin Durant open, so I'm staying on that guy. Well, you're screwed now, right? Because you're out of rotation, and there was some beautiful music being played there. I know in that game, Kirk got a little bit of a when Steph knocked knees with one of the guys on Serbia, but he was all right and managed to stay in the game.
When we got his rescue dog Wilson at the pandemic 4 years ago, in December, it'll be 4 years that we got him. He would never leave our side after he got trusting us. Except, so we would let him. I told you we have a large amount of land, and we let him run around. Our drive wouldn't go anywhere. Never left the eyesight unless he fucking saw a rabbit, which we have. And then he would lose his fucking mind. And so we ended up, like, my wife's got a tracker on him now it's a collar, and so we can, because it's not easy to find him, and it's not fun. And so one of our rules is never without a leash, because he will lose his fucking mind when he sees a rabbit.
Predatory instinct. Yeah, he's going after it.
Right. The rabbit. He sees squirrels all the time. Rabbits are rare. That's pretty much like going against Curry. But the other team's like a bunch of dogs seeing my dog seeing a rabbit. They lose their fucking minds. Oh, 3x3. And they just, this is really, if you get down to the brass tacks of what NBA offense or any high school or college do, this is the design of these systems, is to make them make choices, not just with screens, but in general, make them make choices quickly. And that's the challenge, because it's not hard to make a choice if one guy is deliberate, like Jalen Brunson is dribbling 12 times. You got to make a choice, but at least you have time to think about the choice. You don't have time in this offense. And the Americans are, just really uniquely talented to take advantage of mistakes that you make when you make your choice.
Absolutely. And we definitely saw it on display. All right, guys, we'll be back to continue our Team USA discussion right after this. David, I think it's safe to say one of our favorite players this season, just our favorite players in the league, is Anthony Edwards. And he's got so much moxie and confidence, and it oozes out of him whenever you see him play. I mean, it's bad. David often talks about young players as like everything's puppy dogs and ice cream, and they're constantly like nipping. Oh, so excited, so excited. That's just when you're young, you got lots of exuberance, right? That's just the nature of young people. And Ant, for a elite player now, which he is, he's still got so much of that. To me, David, it's challenged in a way that it comes out in competitiveness. And what I loved when he came on the floor, because he came off the bench, the first thing he did was take the challenge defensively to get up into guys. And I was like, look at this man. He's just like, and I'm sure as a coach, you love players who just love to compete. Like that is, from knowing you as long as I have, that's your number one thing when you're with guys.
Yeah.
What's their compete level? And Ant loves it. Yeah.
When I look back at when I was actually a team coach, which is, I coached well over 1,000 games in my life. It's the single most common word that I would use as a coach in a game, especially. I used to clap my hands like this, compete. I was copying someone else who clapped that way, but it was my words of just compete. Like that is the organic beginning of where I think we go. And I don't think Anthony Edwards is that different from most of these NBA players. They want to compete. They want to be challenged. I was talking to a player in the Olympics who's going to be a really rich guy. Like he's got big money coming, and he's already made good money. And he's like, I'm still going to hoop. That's his words. I'm still going to hoop. I almost think it's refreshing for an Anthony Edwards to see the way LeBron and KD go about their business. I also think it's demoralizing for teams playing against Team USA when they're like, that dude's coming off the bench. He'd be with some exception, he'd be the greatest talent in the history of my country's ever produced. And he comes off the bench for that team and isn't even an all-NBA player, although he's trending in the right direction.
Sure is.
Yeah, I find him. I'm cynical of guys. I don't get wowed easily. I'm really falling in love with Anthony Edwards.
I know.
So proud of him as a young man, recognizing his place in the league and in the world as a basketball player. And I think this is super important. Most of these guys don't want to be divas, and sometimes they end up being divas because of no choice of their own. It's almost like everyone's helping them be that, because it means if I can elevate this guy into diva status and I have this role, well, now I've carved out an important role. I have literally been told, but when I'm helping a player work out, they don't want me passing the ball to the guy. They want to be the ones doing it, as if it's something magical.
Right.
Yeah. I once had a guy tell me, you can't be passing to these guys. And I said, why is that? You pass the ball over your two hands over your head sometimes, and you don't throw great passes. And I'm like, what? Yeah, and?
Right.
I said, you are aware how many 40% three-point shooters I've helped develop? And he's like, yeah, but guy said to me, yeah, but you can't pass. And I didn't want to argue. It doesn't matter. It was on the court. But the idea that these guys need perfect passes is they're not kings.
Right.
And that is also not how the game is played.
You want fucked up passes.
Most of the players I've had, when I've said, okay, you got to make 10 in a row, 8 in a row, whatever it is to get to the next drill, they make me throw them a bad pass. And also, this is something my son did as well. If you throw a great pass, they throw it back to you. Because they want to be extra challenged. Well, that's just Anthony Edwards and everybody else. That's not to say sometimes you don't want it to be perfect, because sometimes in games it's going to be a perfect pass. But they thrive on making it tough. They thrive on that. It's my favorite story of all is the Tiger Woods story when his dad, when he came home as a young teen, And the dad's like, I thought you were playing. And he's like, yeah, but it's raining outside. And he's like, yeah, but they play in the rain. You ever watch the British Open, son?
Yeah.
So I always thought about that when Tiger was murdering British Opens,
Mhm.
which I think might be his most successful. I forgot. It's been a long time.
No, not as much, but like he's won it 3 times and had
Still,
ridiculous
yeah.
scores. Yeah.
Not many guys have won it 3 times.
No.
He's a California kid because he learned to work in bad weather.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. So to me, if I'm a Minnesota fan, this only makes Anthony Edwards even better.
Yeah.
Come off the bench. It's not all hand delivered to you. The team does not revolve around you. You are not the go-to guy. That's only going to make you better.
For sure.
So watch out, rest of the league, because he's going to be better, I think.
I mean, look what we just saw this playoffs. Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves took down the defending champions, right? And he was electric in those first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, and David, your views and your feelings on Edwards have evolved over time, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're not high on him coming out of Georgia.
I was, but to be fair,
you were high on the talent. You just weren't sure if it was going
to blown away with the talent.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he seemed disinterested in college. As it turns out, he was just bored. He's just bored. Ever since he's been in the league, I've been coming as a fan. And Jalen Green hasn't learned yet how to play. Anthony Edwards has long ago, like by year 2, started figuring out a better way to play basketball. And I mean, I try to be pragmatic, Jarod. Of course. What I used to think shouldn't matter. It's what am I seeing? All that should matter is what I'm seeing. And I fucking love Anthony Edwards. I fucking love him, man. I do. I love him. I love everything about him. Everything about what he does for our sport.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. And again, if you're the other team thinking that motherfucker comes off the bench for those guys and Tatum didn't even play, they're like, what the hell?
And he's so young. Impressive. So in theory, he could beat the
23, maybe.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be part of 2028. Like, I mean, this is
if he wants to be.
If you want, right? Assuming he wants to be. I mean, he's
going to be good enough to make it
without question. So yeah, kudos. One of the things that we talked about, David, was the difference between FIBA and the NBA, and I was like, the slight difference. You're like, a little more than slight, right? Major difference. And I want to talk about the difference in context with Joel Embiid. Now, granted, it was 1 game, but he just seems so out of fit and out of sorts to me with this team. Like, he was doing things in the NBA that expected to happen in FIBA, and they don't. Like, his foul grift, I'm like, buddy, they're not calling that. Like, it's not going to work. Like, you got to just fucking throw your shoulder into somebody because you're so big and just fucking put the ball in the hoop. It just seemed awkward and weird to me watching Joel Embiid last night.
So one agent who does not represent him but has watched him a lot thinks he's way out of shape. I don't know anything about it. I just haven't watched that closely to know because I was traveling some, didn't see the exhibitions. He didn't look in great shape in the 1 game. It was just 1 game though. I will tell you that I was happy with his attitude. I thought that he was selfless in the second half. The game was a struggle for him, and I didn't think he cared, and that matters to me. You care about us, worry about you, worry about me after the game, but in game, worry about us. And I thought he did that. It doesn't make sense to establish, Dwayne Wade was talking about getting the ball early to him, which is what I think he was repeating what was happening. That's not a great strategy because
I don't think so.
You can threaten the paint without throwing the ball to Embiid because of all the guys you have that can score down there or drive down there. I think that he can make tough shots. He should be a net positive for us ultimately. I would start AD over Embiid.
I think so.
Although I thought Embiid's defense was good. He has trouble with Jokic, who doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's just big dude in paint, rim protecting. There's a role to play for him too. It's an embarrassment of riches that they have. And I've saw someone speculate that he was promised a starting spot. Maybe so, in order to play for us, not Canada, France. I thought America wanted him to keep him off of France's team.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So it's an addition in the case of subtraction, even if he doesn't help your team.
Right.
Which I think ultimately he can. We'll see. They only got 5 more games maximum. 6-game tournament for the champion. And so you have to learn a lot fast. South Sudan's next for them, I believe. Because of the nature of the way the game is played, that can be a challenge. It also could be a blowout because they don't have the discipline. If Team USA plays the right way, I think it could be a rout. But South Sudan just beat Puerto Rico, almost beat Team USA before, which I do not think is good. I do not think that's good for South Sudan. They almost beat America.
Yeah, they might
Some
come
people might
into.
think it's a good omen.
Yeah,
I don't agree. I think
right.
it's going to get Team USA is going to come out balling
Mm-hmm.
because they know what could happen, and they just saw what happened with Serbia. Let's just say we lost the first 3 minutes, and we still were great. We won easily. So I think they have that in their bag if they want as well. But it's basically grown men playing the college game, 40-minute game, cramped court. You can help and recover much easier. I don't think it's pretty as pretty as the NBA games can be. Although I thought Team USA did the closest facsimile you could to a beautiful game of basketball. Given how aggressive Serbia was, and they were long and getting steals and deflections, I still really liked what Team USA did. The fluid action stuff that we ran, I thought was very good.
What's interesting about that, and I think again Kerr's system works, right? Because in FIBA rules, they allow a lot more off-ball grabbing and
holding, grabbing,
right?
fouling,
a lot more of that. But the constant motion, right, I think helps negate that. If you did a lot of steady single pick and roll and ISO, yeah, you're probably going to get fucked up on that, right? It's not going to look so cute. But I think
it's like Team Canada.
Yeah.
That's what I thought did.
Or Team Canada.
To your point, my brother Mike, who's a brilliant guy, but knows a little about basketball, played high school captain, has been following basketball ever since very closely, played 4 years in high school with a very, very, very good fundamental coach. As soon as the game was over, he texted me, "That was quite a wrestling match we just saw." He nailed it. It is. I mean, I'm watching Team USA, watching the other games. There's just brutal fouls.
Yeah.
They somehow think that's pretty basketball. I don't think so.
Some of the things I like though about FIBA, I love that you can swat the ball off the rim. That's cool. So there's some cool things. And the 3-point line for those of you at home, yes, it does. If it's a little closer, it looks closer because it is. And yeah, I thought that Team USA looked good in that game. So 1-0. And by the way, point differential matters. It's just like it does for the NBA Cup. So if you're like, oh, where did this game won? Why are they just not walking the ball up? Because that matters, right? If for whatever reason you're tired, they're going to look at your point differential. So if you're winning, you want to beat the snot out of whoever you're playing, so that point differential doesn't matter for you.
Team USA didn't make the rules. These are the Olympic rules, and so you're just playing by them. So yeah, you want to win by a lot of points.
We talked about it earlier, and there was a little bit of scuttlebutt on Twitter about this. Jason Tatum did not play in the game. Neither did Tyrese Halliburton, by the way. But Halliburton not playing is a much more explainable thing because people still believe that he sucks, even though he doesn't.
He's got a hamstring issue.
Right.
And defense was a big priority in this game, and they had Derek White and Drew Holiday on the court, and Booker even. Yeah.
Correct. Booker competes on that end for sure.
Yeah.
And Halliburton does not, which we've detailed numerous times. Although
doesn't at the level he needs to.
Right. In the playoffs, he was a little better than he's been in the regular season. Anyway, so people are like, oh my God, how did Jason Tatum not play? And everybody's losing their mind. And Kerr after the game said, oh, he's going to play against South Sudan. It was a matchup thing, what have you. Look, in a team that's this talented, there's going to be games where some dudes are going to get little to no minutes. That's just how, because 40 minutes, not 48. And you think, oh, only 8. No, that matters. That's a huge difference. It's going to matter, particularly when the teams get really good and it's like, we're playing, I don't know, France in a medal knockout round or whatever. You're going to see it's just going to be a little bit more heavier minutes for certain guys, and some guys may not get off the bench or get off the bench a ton. That's just how it goes. I think it's much ado about nothing. I believe Kerr thinks it's much ado about nothing. You think you have something that Kerr should do to kind of end the whole thing, and what should he do?
Yeah, I think Kerr should have started him against South Sudan. In fact, I wish LeBron would say, I'm happy to come off the bench. You're going to play LeBron or not play LeBron.
Right.
You should kill South Sudan. But you can say, listen, LeBron, if it's 10-5, 5 minutes in the game, either way, I'm putting you in. But if we're up,
don't start Durant since Durant's got the calf thing. And
But that's the first thing I said today is don't start Durant. I don't care which one. Durant wasn't starting anyway.
Correct.
Last game. So don't start LeBron. I don't care who you don't start. Play Tatum right away. Hell, play all three. Play Halliburton, Durant, and Tatum in the starting lineup, and just end this discussion of who's starting. Like, we're loaded. Our worst player is Tyrese Halliburton, by far. Right. So I'm just gonna try to keep my guys as rested as possible, so that we have the best gold medal game we could, or semifinal game first.
Mm-hmm.
You end the discussion.
Yeah.
I thought Tatum handled himself beautifully.
Yeah.
I watched the game and I saw him clapping and cheering, and And I'm happy to say this. I don't want to get political. I got emotional, by the way. I'm sorry for this refrain, but you'll get where I'm going. I got emotional when I was in Cabo and listening to Kamala's first speech. It was like 3 days after the fact. I'm so excited about a brilliant, fresh voice. But the world's a really mean place. Twitter's a terrible, terrible place.
Sure is. And
so these fucking fuckheads, these fucking fuckheads, who are just bashing and making fun of Tatum. You're a fucking idiot, man.
Right. Yeah.
He handled himself with complete class, visibly. I have no idea what happened behind the scenes. If there's reporting suggesting otherwise, I'm curious to hear it. But I got nothing. There was no diva world Jason Tatum or Tyrese were living in at all. And American exceptionalism has been a problem for us for centuries. Yeah. But that doesn't mean every individual person who's been successful feels that way.
Correct.
And I thought Tatum absolutely emblemized a champion, an absolute professional champion. And he ain't the first. The guy calling the game showed the way.
Dwayne Wade.
Because D. Wade, who was the best shooting guard at the time in the world, I thought, and certainly one of the best, and had been a champion, played his ass off the bench. And so I just feel like I think we're at our best as a country. I'm not happy LeBron held the flag. You know how I feel about that. Show me the 500 meter, the 1500 meter runner, or the surfer, or pick some obscure talent. We have enough of them too. We have a big contingent. I prefer that instead of our stars. But the shoe companies are making these decisions now.
Yes.
I'm sure of that. You would know better than I. But I was really, if I'm Brad Stevens and I'm Joe Mazzulla, I'm calling Tatum immediately and saying, man, never been more proud of you as a man. If I'm his parents, never been more proud of you as a man than in those moments when you clearly were the best players in the world and you didn't beat it. Just everything looks so normal. Congratulations, Jason. You've grown up. He's a dad. I'm not surprised. Well, we're supposed to show that face to our kids.
It's so important on this team. Dawn Staley talked about it at halftime. When you bring a collection of these kinds of talents together, it's about we. It's not about my individual, whatever. Everybody on this team is good and elite, and has won stuff or is on the verge of what. Hey man, we're as David said, I'll worry about me later. What's good for we right now in this moment, and that was good for we. And we talked about D Wade. He mentioned Coach K, who we both agree is one of the better leader of men, right? That we've seen. And Coach K's big message and the way he talked about it was, he told us that, and that was the 08 year, right? The Redeem team, all that coming in, and we got to get ourselves back together. Coach K said, bring your egos, because that's what got you to where you are. But when you get to the door, check them, because we all have a job to do. And our collective job is to restore American basketball, win the goal, blah, blah, do all the things. It may mean you sacrificing him off the bench. It may mean you diving on loose floors and you're not getting the ball and icing at the top of the key no, whatever it takes to win. And it's fitting because two of the guys on this team who are perfect, right? When everybody was screaming, why isn't Jaylen Brown here? Why isn't Jaylen? Because Jaylen Brown's repetitive. We have enough guys who can do what Jaylen Brown does. Derek White, Drew Holidays, we need those types of dudes who embody that, who don't give a shit about shots or whatever. It ain't about that. Winning possessions, whatever it takes. So I thought that was big.
And I'll tell you, just as a father, boy, the people nowadays, the people that impress me most are people my age and older who still seem so invigorated to make a difference in the world. It's one reason why I'm excited about that. Mrs. Harris to be president. We're the same age. We're 59. I believe I looked it up, and I think she's class of 83, same as me. I'm very inspired by 80-year-olds who are so motivated to do great stuff, whatever, because I like Mick Jagger dancing at concerts. That inspires me now. But once I became a dad, I started getting really excited about great dads, fathers who show class in really scary times or tough moments. Have you seen the Coach K interview where he talked? I forget who he's talking to. He's talking about MJ's first practice with him. I just saw it recently where MJ comes up and says, "Hey, Coach, can you work with me on some couple? I got some things I want to work on. This is '92 Dream Team." And Coach K was the assistant. Can you shoot with me and work with me on some of these things? And Coach Krzyzewski is saying, this is Michael Jordan. He knows my first name is Mike. He called me Coach. He said, please and thank you during the workout. he said, I personally think it was, I'm Duke, he's Carolina,
Uh-huh.
we're America.
Right.
We're on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just be on the same team here. And this does not make Michael Jordan a good person. But in the moment, we're talking about basketball here. It's check your egos at the door. I'm just a basketball player trying to get better. You're a coach that can help me or at least rebound for me.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach K's like, he could have said, hey, idiot, come rebound for me. And I would have, because that's my job.
Right.
But he didn't. And one of the things I love about our players is, as someone who went to Vegas and is watching these guys, these not just current players who are watching the young guys play, but ex-players, former players, retired, who come back. I was watching Udonis, like, I mean this, Jarod. He's a very well-known guy now, Udonis. He's sitting on the court for the Heat Summer League games. And at the game's about to start, exposed with his team now in Abu Dhabi.
Yep.
So he's kind of like the face of the Heat now.
Right.
And he's saying hello to a bunch of people. He goes to sit down on one side of the half court, and he notices Andy Ellisberg, who's one of the guys who runs their team, sitting by himself on the other side. He walks over right before the game starts and kind of just kind of pats him on his shoulder, like, I see you. And Udonis would have done that when he was 18. He's learned that skill of at least playing the part of someone who cares about everyone. That's the game of life. And really successful people sometimes don't follow that game. Billionaires don't do it too often.
Definitely not.
The ones that do deserve credit for making other people feel noticed and feel seen. Our players are experts at that.
They are.
Listen, I don't have to tell you, to be black in America, you have to learn that more so than I had to learn it. I had to learn it. You had to learn it more, Jarod.
For sure.
These guys are experts because they want the endorsements and they want the money. These are the games you have to play. It's just the reality of it. So I'm not at all surprised Jason Tatum, who is a max player, and not just because he's a hell of a player. You have to do all these other things. Our Americans are the richest guys in the Olympics.
By far.
I would say if you ranked all the athletes based on personal income year to year, I think NBA would win, maybe a few soccer.
Some tennis guys, none of the soccer guys, because they're all under 23. So
it's under 23 for the men, not the women.
Right, not for the women. Not for the women, for the men.
That's what I thought. Okay. So for the men, right. So it's under 23, so no soccer.
Right.
Probably nobody. But that came with a responsibility that our guys have really mastered. I thought Jokic was great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really noticed too in these games, like I was watching the South Sudanese, the game against they just beat Puerto Rico. It was a physical game. All these games, Puerto Rico, all these games were physical. They were happy to pick these guys up off the ground and everything. Like, it's supposed to be camaraderie. It's supposed to be a teamwork and the good of sport in general. The history of the Olympics says that. I was very proud of our basketball players doing that. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, they were excellent at it. And as David said, Wednesday, game 2 of group play against South Sudan. And Puerto Rico's also in their group, so that'll be the following game, I believe. And then, not odds are, we likely will be the number 1 seed out of this group, and then we'll advance on from there into the knockout round. Should be exciting. David, a couple quick news and notes around the NBA. Indiana Pacers guard Andrew Nembhard signed a 3-year, $59 million extension, was it?
59 and change, I think. Okay. I haven't seen the numbers, really.
And one of the big stories was foregoing 4 years and $80 million. But David, that's a good thing that he passed up the extra year.
Yeah, I noticed. I was listening to a Pacers podcast or two, and they seemed like it was a big win for the team, and they didn't have to give him the 4th year. Or why didn't he get the 4th year? Well, the way, and I know Andrew well, but I deal with this all the time, and the strategy and talking to agents of this kind of stuff. There's a risk reward and everything. Isaiah Thomas famously took a huge risk and didn't get any reward for it.
Correct.
If you ever watched that Howie Mandel show, I don't know if it's still on the air. I don't think it is. What's it called? Where they had suitcases.
And Deal or No Deal?
I think that's the name of it. Yeah.
I think so.
So they would pass up, $200,000 in order to get $1 million.
Right.
But I only get $50.
Correct.
Like, that's what we're talking about here. So these players need to, if they can, and Nembhard was a 2nd-round pick. This was after 2 years. Name me the last extension worth that kind of money after 2 years of playing in the NBA. So he can guarantee his family basically $60 million gross after he makes whatever $2 million and change this year. So he's risking that last year, that $20 million, but he might be able to make 35, 40 million in 1 year. And yet he still can make sure his great grandkids are able to be going to college and be fed. Yep. Well, he's Canadian, so if grandkids live in Canada, more or less, that's still private. Our country is different. The rest of the world kind of gets it better than we do.
Yeah.
So you take the risk off the table with 60. You're 28 or so, I think he is, when he's free agent again. And then he can really cash out. You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
That's good strategy. That's good agenting.
Mm-hmm.
You could have taken the 4th year, but that doesn't leave any room on the table for being 28 and then being able to the big deal. I think it's a compromise on both ends that everybody wins. Yeah. Indiana locks up a guy that probably would demand more in the open market in a year as a restricted free agent. Quite sure that he would have. But if he gets hurt this year, he doesn't have to worry about that. And so it's a win-win. The team did a great job. They got Toppin at $15 million a year. They got Nembhard at $20 million a year. They've got Siakam and Tyrese as their max players. Indiana has got some things going on. They've got to get Juris Walker, Ben Mathurin up to speed.
Yep.
Ben Shepherd potentially in year 2. Nick Neesmith is a nice player. Indiana's going to be right there, I think, for the East this year.
Yeah, and look, they had a hell of a playoff run. They just came off of. So this is a team that, and that was with Halliburton dealing with the hamstring and some other stuff, right? So
let's hope he gets healthy. That's to me the biggest thing.
Yeah. I mean, playing the Olympics probably ain't helping that.
No, but if he's not playing,
then it's fine.
Which he did in game 1, then he's probably just getting treatment and he's probably making some progress. That's hope.
And also getting to soak up some stuff around these great players, right? I mean, which is invaluable, the experience.
Seeing Derek White and Drew Holiday day to day is a good thing.
I would imagine so. But by the way, Derek White and Drew Holiday, who, a lot of people like to, for whatever reason, people don't, as David would say, who don't understand basketball, poo-poo those guys. I'm like, you know how much fucking money those two dudes make?
Oh, man.
And they are vital to their, they don't win NBA title this past season without those two dudes. Fact.
I classify those guys, Kyle Lowry too, as two-way players. Derek White in the paint is a nightmare defensively. Nightmare. Yep. He can scrap on the floor and block your shot.
Block shots.
So two-way players, play the right way, champions, winners, rich guys. I mean, that's all I want my son to be. All those, and my daughter too, obviously. She's not involved in sports. Winner, two-way player, champion, rich guy. I don't know what else.
Sounds like a win.
Be a good family man, and you got everything, right? Have your health. That's about it.
I'm with you. Sounds like a win to me. A player, David, last thing that you like a lot, picked up by the Phoenix Suns, Tyus Jones, on a 1-year, $3 million deal. Yeah. I mean, that's all Phoenix can afford, obviously, because of the second apron and all that stuff. And as with the way that the league is set up right now, right, you're really squeezing out those lower middle class players, right, because of where teams are stuck with their overspending on these supermax older players. But my God, this team needed a point guard desperately, and now they have Tyus isn't, and he's 27, 28. Like, it's good pickup for them, I think, at $3 million.
Amazing pickup. He's a starting level player, and I don't really know his situation, who his agent is, what the offers were. I don't know if there can be done something could have been done differently to get him to this point, but he has to be incredibly disappointed. I thought he could get $20 million a year to run the Wolves, and now he's making $3 million to play in Phoenix. So, yeah, it's the single thing I heard most complained about from agents this summer in Vegas and on the phone was how tight the market is.
Yeah,
there's just no money.
But with the new deals kicking in and all of that, if they catch lightning in a bottle in terms of player health and they make a good playoff run and Tyus shows out this season, right? That's his 1 year. That's his 1 year audition to make.
That's what he's hoping for.
Make more money somewhere else next year. So
that's what he's hoping for sure.
Yeah, San Antonio needs a point guard. We know that. So that could be it. And I know they got money. All right, folks. Enjoy the Olympics. You'll see Wednesday's game the second game will happen by the time we record, so we'll be able to reflect on that. We'll talk about what's happening going forward. All right, everybody. Take care.